Hello! Have I ever got a whole load of coloured pencil videos to make, all sorts of reviews to do, but today I thought I would start out by doing this one, the 80 set of Caran Supracolor Soft Watercolour Pencils. It's still wrapped in plastic, so I have not even opened this yet. We're going to find out what they're like together. This is very much a first impressions review. Let's get into it! As I mentioned in the intro, this is the 80 set. There's also a much larger 120 set of coloured pencils, but those were at full price. This tin was on half price, and so I had to snap it up. And I think 80 will be more than enough to give this a fair review, although of course whenever I can get the largest set I will, but when something is as expensive as the Caran products, sometimes you've got to take a slightly smaller set. But let's get this tin open. It's very shiny and metal, and I will flip it open so we can see all the brand new pencils. And of course there has to be paper inside. I don't know why this is showing Prismalo. Does it have any Supracolors on here too? But there's a little booklet at any rate. I'll put that to one side. And we'll take off this little spongy bit. There they are, all looking beautiful in the tin. And if I'm not mistaken, there will be a second layer. What I like about Caran pencils is that they have these nice metal tins for a lot of their pencil sets. And stuck to the bottom of this is another spongy layer, so I'm just going to remove that too. And that's the lower tin of pencils. I'll see if I can get them all on camera. There we go, they just fit. It looks like there is a fairly extensive colour palette. I was thinking there's only one red, but it looks like there might be a couple more down here. It's a strange organisation of colours. So I guess my next thing is to make up a swatch chart so we can colour them out. Because they are watercolour pencils, I think I'm going to do this on watercolour paper. I've used regular paper before and it's never satisfying to paint them out, it just goes horrible. So we'll get the good stuff out. Just before I do that, I've pulled a pencil out and we can see what it looks like. It's a hexagonal barrel. It's got the name there and what looks to be the light fast level of it. So this light purple is a 2-star. I'll have to look that up and maybe talk about it a bit later. Then here we've got Caran. It's got the paintbrush, which indicates that it's a water soluble pencil, and Supracolor Soft. So now I will get some swatching action going on. Here we go, a beautifully ruled out swatch chart which fits in the lid of the tin. I made sure of that. And then I don't lose it. I've got the first layer here and the second layer. I had to do it on 2 rows each because they would have just been too skinny and my writing is tiny enough as it is. First up, I'm going to colour out all of them in the dry form because it's just much faster to do it this way and then paint them all out together rather than doing one colour and one paint. I've learned that from earlier videos. You can see already that there are quite a lot of greens in this set, which is a pretty good thing actually because I've had other sets where there's just not enough and so I'd rather have more than less. There's also quite a lot of aqua colours in here going into the blues. It's a really pretty palette overall, I think. They're very nice pencils, the colour laid down very smoothly, and there's a decent amount of pigment in them. My set is actually an older tin, which is why it was on sale, but they have changed the tins and now they're called Supracolor Aquarelles rather than Supracolor Soft. I'm pretty sure the pencils are the same though. This set also has a lot of pinks, which I really like, and most of them are actually relatively light fast. And in the set, they're rated from 1 star to 3 stars. 1 star is the lowest light fastness considered good, 2 stars is very good, and 3 stars is excellent. Most of the pencils in here are 2 or 3 stars, except for 5 that I could find which are 1 star. They are periwinkle blue, pink, salmon, and bluish pale. However, when I was looking at the charts for the latest tins, they had changed bluish pale to a 2-star, so I'm not sure if the formula has been changed in that one. I really like that colour though. It's on the 3rd row next to the white, which looks greyish because of course the ink wasn't dry when I coloured over the top of it. And once I'd finished colouring out the pencils here, I actually had to leave for a couple of hours because I took Nick out for his birthday lunch. So this is 2 hours later when I'm activating them with water, and they did really well. Almost all of the pigment came up off the paper. I was very impressed with how soluble they became. Quite often if you leave dry pencils and crayons on paper, they kind of set and then they won't reactivate with water very well, but these ones didn't seem to have much problem at all. Maybe they would reactivate even more easily if I'd done them straight away. But I think this actually gives them a pretty good test as to what happens if you do leave your pencils dry for a while on the paper. The colours really came to life when I activated them with water. Some of them are quite pastel, and then others like this cobalt blue are incredibly bright. I think this is a really lovely set of pencils, and I'm so glad I found it on sale. Because Caran products are never cheap, but they are incredibly high quality, at least everything that I've tried. And these Supracolors are no exception. Just bear in mind that with light fastness, when you activate something with water, it does change the amount of light fastness that they have. So the more dilute your painting is, the less light fast it's going to be. If you've painted in thick layers, then it's going to be much more light fast. It won't fade as easily. Pinks tend to be the least light fast, although most of these, as I said, are too. I love that raspberry red, by the way, but this pink and the salmon pink are considered to be the least light fast in this row. That granite rose is also really gorgeous, and that had a much higher light fast rating. It was at least a 2, possibly a 3. Silver, gold and bronze were pretty average. Those ones didn't re-wet very easily. Dark carmine and Bordeaux red are both beautiful, but they just feel like they're in the wrong place, and I would have put them in the row above next to the other carmine. I guess something had to go there to balance out the set. There's lots of nice neutral colours here. That white just went grey thanks to the black ink behind it. I love that bluish pale, as I said, and I'll still use it even if it is 1 star. I like the greys, they're all really nice and soft, and then there are a few browns as well. The black maybe wasn't as dark as I would have liked. It could have done with a couple more layers, I think. And then down the bottom there are a few more browns going into really golden colours. I think there's one too many ochres in this set. They all look very similar to each other. My favourite of the 3 is probably the golden ochre. Then we have a few yellows. Surprisingly not too many because a lot of sets have way too many yellows. I love the yellow and the fast orange though. Those two are really bright. And then we've got a few reds. The salmon feels just a little out of place as well. And a few more reddish browns. I can imagine that the 120 set would be spectacular. I'm really liking these pencils so far. I think they're a great quality. Here they all are. I really like this as a palette overall. I think there are lots of greens, also quite a lot of the reddish colours down here. These two do feel like they aren't in the right spot, and I would have put these ones up here. I guess they did that because of the way they sit them into the trays, and maybe like the salmon pink and the granite rose could have come down with that salmon. Something like that. It's not too big of a deal though, I'll live with it. They do dissolve out nicely, although there is a little bit of residue, which I expect from any watercolour pencil. Every single one that I ever use has done this. To some extent, these ones actually dissolve out very well, and bearing in mind it took me a couple of hours to actually paint them out from when the pencil actually first went down onto the paper. So that may also have a slight impact on that. I guess now it's time to make some art with these. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, so I guess we're all going to find out together in a moment. So I have a confession to make. I'm not very experienced with, or indeed very good at, using watercolour pencils. In the past I've tried and everything ends up being really streaky. So for my illustration today I'm going for something relatively simple, and I'm drawing some whimsical looking mushrooms and toadstools. It's actually inspired from a photo I took at the Lotus Gardens. There was a children's play area and they had these large novelty toadstools, and I just thought they would be fun to paint. I started off by drawing one and then activating it with water. To begin with, I'm using a brush here that's a fairly cheap Taklon. It didn't hold much water, and I think this is a tactical mistake that I have been making in my drawings, because having less water in a brush makes me feel like I have more control when it comes to diluting out the pencil. But what happens is it dries too quickly and everything gets really patchy. So I decided to change tactics and go for a sable hair brush which holds heaps of water, and put down a juicy layer of water over the top. This diluted the pencils out more quickly, so there's less control, but I noticed that they also became less patchy. And so for the rest of the painting I used that lovely sable brush and just went for it rather than trying to be so controlling, and it was just so much better. Yes, they're still looking a little bit patchy at the moment, but that's quite often because these things need more than one layer, so I will be going over everything again with the second layer, and then it got a lot better. So that is the biggest lesson that I learned from today, which has already improved my skills with water-soluble pencils. Use a juicy brush, not a dry one. Others may disagree with me here, but I found it so much better. The paper I'm using is Fabriano Artistico Hot Press Extra White watercolor paper, so it's got a smooth texture to it, and it's also 100% cotton, which I always prefer over cellulose. Here I am going in with a second layer to try and smooth everything. That mushroom on the left was my least favourite because I'd already stuffed it up on the first go, but I think I managed to fix it up a little bit. And then the other ones improved from there. As long as I'm improving as I go, I figure that's a win. And the camera has focused on my hand instead of the painting, so it's slightly out of focus. I think actually soft focus on that pink mushroom is a good thing, and there it is in stark focus once again. The quality of these Supracolor pencils is pretty exceptional. They are considered artist grade. The pamphlet that came in the tin which said Prismalo, those are the student grade pencils. I've heard good things about those as well. And then there are the museum aquarelles, which I think are the very top of the line because of their Lightfast ratings possibly. I do actually have those as well, and I am going to do a review on that full set as well. I think I might actually prefer the Supracolors over them, but I really need to do a separate review on those, and then I think I would do a direct comparison between the Supracolors and museum aquarelles. But both sets are amazing, really. Pretty much everything I've used by Caran is excellent. Even things that are marketed for children are really good. But they certainly come with a hefty price tag. I think at this stage with the second layer on everything, the picture was really starting to come together, and you could just see how well those pencils are merging and blending with each other. I was thinking that the background looked a bit empty, but I didn't want to colour the whole thing, so I drew a circle and coloured it in with some of those aqua colours. I was also trying in this picture to use as many colour combinations as I could so that I can just really see how the pencils work all together. I didn't use every single colour in the set, but a fair amount of them. I also didn't want to colour the whole background because I've made patchy messes before doing that. Painting the circle was easier because there was less area to cover. And once again, that juicy brush really came into its own because I was able to get a lot of water and not get too much patchiness, although it did get a little bit just there. And here's the bonus feature. It's my first time using that Schmincke Aqua Bronze in this gorgeous rich gold. Just look at it once I activate it with water. It's incredibly bright. And I only used a tiny bit as well, but it made heaps. And I used it to embellish all of the toadstools and mushrooms, colouring in the dots to make them look a lot more even because they'd gotten a bit messy with my colouring around them in the pencils, and that pink mushroom was such a mess it needed something over the top. What a stunning gold it is. I was really impressed. I also added some delicate little stripes to those mushrooms just to make them a little more interesting, and of course added more to the stalks of the mushrooms. I got gold fever at this point and everything had to have gold on it. I must have been a gold prospector in a former life. I'm obsessed with it. But I had a lot of fun painting this. And here's my finished artwork with that really shiny gold on top. I'm glad I left this bit white. I really was tempted to colour it in as well, but I think it just gives it a bit of contrast with the teal circle and the mushrooms or toadstools. So sometimes less is more. Usually less is more. But this is the first time that I've used coloured pencils where I feel like I've got a satisfactory result. It's not too streaky. There's a little bit, maybe in a few parts, but it's not super noticeable. I've tried using them in the past and had much worse results than this. So I'm starting to feel a bit more confident with them. I really learned a lot from this video, which is great. And as they say, it's progress, not perfection, which is most important. So I can safely say that I really like these pencils and I highly recommend them. They're very nice to use, really smooth. lots of colour in them, and they're just an excellent quality product from Caran. Here's the chart of all the colours just to remind you what they look like, and my little painting here. Also a little shout out to this stuff because, oh my lord, that's such a bright gold. I was just astounded with how beautiful it is, and I may have to break my low-buy to get the silver and copper bottles because these look like they're going to last a long time. They are super high quality and I love shiny things, as we can tell from the picture. But how gorgeous is that gold? It's so lovely. What a great product. So everything I used today is excellent. I have no complaints at all. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope this video was helpful, and if it was, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up, and you might want to click that subscribe button for more videos by me. If you want to check out some of my other videos, I've popped a couple up here, and I will see you all again really soon in my next video. I hope you're having a great day out there, and I'll swatch you later. Bye!